ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधी वेदस्य मआणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु। अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। Supreme consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, from verse number 40 onwards, started to expound upon the teaching of Karma Yoga, which he called Yoga Buddhi. He started to give Yoga Buddhi to Arjun. In the 40th verse, he just said that he is introducing the topic called Karma Yoga from the topic which was already been elaborated, which he called Sankhya Yoga. He shifted the topic to Karma Yoga because Karma Yoga becomes an important point, important thing to know, important thing to learn, important thing to follow, so that one becomes capable of acquiring Sankhya Yoga or prepares his intellect for acquiring the knowledge of Sankhya. So in that teaching, Bhagwan from 41st verse up to 44, he praised Karma Yoga. So that what are the kind of advantages which are there in Karma Yoga? He did that. In 45th, he spoke about the essential qualifications which are required to gain Karma Yoga, which are the 5 things he spoke about. In verse 46, actually, he just explained in that, why you should choose Karma Yoga, why you should choose that path. You are not going to lose out on any happiness which are coming out of other things in this life. Arjun, you don't need to worry about that. Be bold, be brave. You can choose Karma Yoga. You are not going to lose out on anything in life, so to say. And the verse 47 and 48 are the verse where Bhagwan is explaining what is Karma Yoga. So we saw the 47th verse in the last session. I'll read the verse first and we'll take further in terms of the meaning, because some part of the meaning I explained you last time. We'll take it further today. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. So taking on forward from the last session, I'll first pick out some important things which we elaborated in the last session, and then we'll take it forward from there. The first and the foremost portion is, as I mentioned, in the first half of the verse, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is not giving a teaching. He is basically expounding upon or declaring the truth of life, which is applicable across board to every being in this creation, irrespective of caste, creed and religion. This is the principle of life, this is the truth of life, this is the law of life which we need to understand. In that portion, Bhagwan says, which I explained in 2 ways, in the first quarter of that verse, Karmani eva adhikara te. Te karmani eva adhikara is one meaning. Te eva karmani adhikara is the next meaning. Both I'll pick up now. And he says, Ma phaleshu adhikaraha. Te phaleshu adhikaraha ma. We can read it that way. And then he adds one word called kadachana, never ever. So we took up this meaning in the last verse. Last session. I'm going to explain the literal meaning again so that we can go forward from there. The first meaning which I picked up in the first half of the verse was Te eva karmani adhikara, and the explanation I gave to you all was, with this we can understand amongst the whole creation, the entire world of beings in this world, and we can divide them into human kingdom, animal kingdom, plant kingdom and bird kingdom. Amongst all these 4, human beings are the only ones who have got right or freedom of action. Other beings, which is the plant kingdom, animal kingdom and the bird kingdom, they do not have the right or freedom of action. They cannot choose their action. That's the first meaning I picked up last time. And further to that I said, we need to split this entire being in world, in this whole creation, into 2 portions. The plant, animal and the bird kingdom will fall under this yoni or this breed called bhoga yoni. And human beings will fall under the yoni called karma yoni. Okay? Now remember, bhoga yoni is a lower one, karma yoni is a little higher. So when I say bhoga yoni is where animals, birds and plants fall under, they are pre-programmed to do action in a particular way. They are only here to exhaust their karma phala and vasana. These are the 2 things they are exhausting in their life. They are not adding any new karma phala because they do not have a choice of action. That's the first thing we need to understand. Now let's take vis-a-vis these 3, which is plant, animal and bird. Let's compare the human kingdom with that, human beings with that. Human beings are a being which are a karma yoni plus bhoga yoni. They have both karma and bhoga, which means what? It means They are here to exhaust their past karma phala and exhaust their past vasanas also. But while doing that, they are also going to end up acquiring new karma phala and new vasanas, which is missing in the plant, animal, and the bird kingdom. They are only for exhaustion of their past vasanas and past karma phala. Now, I will have to explain this a little bit more. That's the reason I'm taking this in little bit detail in this session. What do you mean by that? There are certain karma vasanas, there are certain karma phalas which can be born only in a body of either plant, animal, or bird. Those vasanas, those karma phala cannot be born in a human body at all. So those remain in our sanchit karma, and those kind of vasanas or karma phala increases, then we fall into such a life. We exhaust those vasanas, cleanse ourselves with those vasanas, and come back to human life. Now remember, this is a question which some listeners asked me also, so I'm explaining it here itself. So don't think that an animal, a plant, and bird, they have no ability to come back to human life. No, that's not the case here. I'll give you one example from a corporate world. In corporate world, when we look at the accounting situation scenario, for when we split departments into accounting scenario, there are two things which we use. One is called cost center and one is called profit center. Now cost center, they don't earn profit, they only spend, right? They only spend, but yes, they are critical for the other profit center also, because they may be like operations, they don't directly earn anything, but they are critical for sales and other functions to run. So yes, they are cost center when we talk about them independently. They contribute to the profit center. In the same way, the plant, animal, and bird kingdom are necessary to run this creation. They are part and parcel of this creation. Don't think that human being alone is required. Rest are waste and they are all at our disposal. Please don't take that thinking at all. Sometimes man thinks that these kingdom, which is plant, animal, and bird, they are only for our consumption. I'm sorry, they are part and parcel of the creation. They are here to maintain the balance of the creation. They are definitely in the whole scheme of creation, they are very well part of it, and they are required to run this creation. If we think that only human beings can run the creation, that's not going to happen. Let's not take that mistaken understanding at all. So they are only here to exhaust their karma phala and vasanas. Once that's cleansed, they will go into upper yonis. That's how they continue with the creation. Now let's come to the human being. Human being are also have certain portion of nature. They are bound by nature in certain ways. Now let me just come back first to the plant, animal, and bird kingdom again. Plant, animal, and bird kingdom, because they function in this way, they are completely bound by the nature. They are pre-programmed by the nature, and they can only function in a way the nature has programmed them. They do not have the ability, they do not have the freedom to change their action or to change their program. So I gave two examples there. When we talk about merit and sin there, that is one of the, since they are pre-programmed and bound by the nature to function in a particular way, that is why for the carnivorous animals, when they kill something for their food, they do not inherit sin. And in the same way, the plants and the trees, when they give shade and give some relief to people and animals and all, they do not inherit merit also. Now take another example of that. Even if a carnivorous animal wants also, they cannot convert themselves into a vegetarian. They can't do it. They will remain that way. In the same way, a herbivorous cannot convert itself into starting to eat non-vegetarian. That's not possible. The tree also, why giving shade it doesn't earn merit? Because that is choiceless. It cannot choose to give shade to some, remove shade from someone. That ability, that choice is not there with the plants and trees. So that's why they are only there for exhaustion of their karma phala and vasanas. Let's now come back to human beings. Now, human beings are bound by nature, which I explained in the last session, to certain extent, but they are not completely bound by the nature. In what extent they are bound? Yes, their body is bound by nature. It is born, it will grow, it will decay, and it will die. Man cannot change it, number one. The other thing is that, let's go internal. That is the gross part I was talking about, the physical body. Internal also, when we just think of internally, the mind and the emotions at the emotional level and all work according to particular logic. And I gave you one example. There was a person who gives you happiness. It's natural that you may feel love and respect for that person. On the contrary, a person who gives you sorrow, you cannot love that person. No, hate and anger and other things are natural with those persons. So to that extent, man is also bound. But where does man has freedom? Man, or human being has freedom? Human being have freedom to choose their action. Now, there are two things I highlighted for choice of action. What? I first defined action to you. Those acts which are done with doership in mind. Remember, doership in mind. And I told you what? Man has got the ability to become a doer also, and is also an enjoyer also, because both kartritva and bhoktritva goes along with human being. Whereas the bhoktritva only goes with that's the only thing which goes with animals, plant and other thing. They have, of course, they are bearing the fruit or enjoyer, whichever way you call it. Bhoga is happening there. But man has got kartritva also, bhoktritva also. So how do we define action? With doership, those acts which are performed in two fields, either in the permitted or allowed field or in the prohibited field, that is called action. Now keeping the human being scenario in mind, choice in mind, so man has got first choice that if that person wants or human being wants, it can act in the allowed or permitted field also. It can also act in the prohibited field also. So that choice is the first thing. Now another way to explain the freedom of action, which is the adhikara, what Bhagwan uses here. Freedom of action is defined how? I said, kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum shakyate. Man also has got freedom in with one more way, which is what? The first freedom I spoke about, that the man can perform in a permitted and allowed field of action or act also, and prohibited field also. That's the first freedom I spoke about. The other freedom which man has in terms of action is what? That person or human being can decide to do the action, can decide not to do the action, can decide to do the action differently. Whatever is presented in front of that. That level man has got a freedom of choice. Kartum, that the person can decide to do. Akartum, can decide not to do. Anyatha kartum, can decide to do differently. These are the two levels of freedom we speak about. So the first level I said, he can do it in vihit or nishiddh kshetra, which is allowed or permitted field also. Nishiddh means prohibited field also. Then the other example which we gave is the human being can decide to do an action, not do an action, and also to change an action. Now just take that example. So that's the first level. Te eva karmani adhikara means, which is the first quarter of this entire verse. Te eva karmani adhikara was the first meaning I said. Te eva karmani adhikara means man only amongst the whole creation, in the whole creation, amongst all the beings created here, man only have got this freedom of action. Other beings do not have the freedom of action. That is what is meant by te eva karmani adhikara. Okay, that's the first thing. The second way to look at this first quarter of the verse is te karmani eva adhikara. And I told you that meaning is also correct. O man, O human being, you only have a freedom in doing an action. Only action level you have freedom. And I told you, at the action level, kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum is there. An action level, man or human being can decide to do in the permitted, allowed field also, can decide to do in the prohibited field also. But just think the second quarter of this first half. Now just see that Bhagwan says, Te Phaleshu Adhikaraha Ma. Now take with the same example, Kartum Akartum Anyata Kartum Shakyate, that is not there at the level of fruit. When the fruit is presented, the fruit of action is presented in front of the human being, they are only receivers. Nobody is a chooser. And I told you this line, when it comes to fruit of action, none of us are choosers, all of us are receivers, irrespective of whatever level that person may be. So, te eva karmani adhikara, that is in comparison with other beings in this creation. Te karmani eva adhikara is in comparison with this second quarter of the first half. Bhagwan says, Te karmani eva adhikara. You have only freedom and right of action. Arjun, understand, no human being, rather no being in this creation has got a freedom at the level of fruit when it is presented in front of them. That's the way the first half of this verse needs to be understood. And Bhagwan adds one more word there, kadachana. Kadachana means at all point in time. There will never ever be a time in this whole creation, till the time this creation is there, that human being or being will have right of choosing or freedom in terms of fruit. All of us will be receiver, and when it is presented to us, you can't say that, okay, I'll see that, if I need to receive it or not. No, you have to receive it. I will not receive it. No, you don't have that choice. I will change this fruit. No, you can't do that also. So that's what Bhagwan means with the first half. And I told you about this, that remember, there is no teaching in this line. This is the most popular, the most popular line which is quoted on calendars and has been quoted in movies and other places also, and trying to make it acceptable or understandable to everyone. They've actually spoiled the meaning of this. This is not how they have understood, but never mind, that's not the point here. Remember, I told you one thing, irrespective of caste, creed and religion, this is across board applicable to everyone. Another thing I said in the last session was, the adhikara and te word goes with this something called Deep Dehli Nyay. And I told you Deep Dehli Nyay means, in the olden times when the lamp used to be kept, they used to keep it at the center of the door. So while it is kept at the door, it will light outside the door also to an extent. It will light inside the door also. That is what is called Deep Dehli Nyay, the lamp which is kept at the door. In the same way, here, the two words te and adhikara will go with Deep Dehli Nyay. It will go on both sides. So we have to understand this first half as with three meanings. Te eva karmani adhikaraha, te karmani eva adhikaraha, te phaleshu adhikara ma kadachana. And this is at all points in time. Then Bhagwan in the second and half of the verse, there Bhagwan is giving a teaching to Arjun. Arjun, since this is this way, since this is the truth of life, since this is the principle of life, then how you should lead your life, how you should set your life. Ma karma phala hetuhu bhuhu. You should not get that, you should not become in such a way that your primary motivating factor of doing an action should never be, the fruit of action. Fruit should not be your primary motivating factor. It should not be your primary driving factor. Hetu means fruit should not become the cause of your action. You should not do action only because of the fruit, keeping fruit in mind. That should never be. You have to move away from, don't become. Bhu means bhu bhavati. It comes from that. Bhu bhavati means don't become like that. Don't make fruit your primary cause of action. Don't make fruit your only motivating factor in life. I can say that way also here. Don't make fruit only the motivating factor. Now just see, technically, if I look at this whole human creation, human world, just think, Fruit is the only motivating factor for the majority of us. Why I did not say all of us? Because there are people who have chosen to go above. And remember, tie back to the 45th verse. Nistray Gunyo Bhava. Right? You have to tie back to that, and everything has to be read in the continuation. There are people who have chosen goals higher than Triguna, higher than the fruit of action. They have based themselves on God or duty. Either ways they can, and we can say that. Bhagwan says, Arjun, so how should your approach in life be? Don't make fruit alone your motivating factor. Don't work only for fruit. Let's understand that way. And then the other last quarter of this verse is, or the second quarter of the second half of this verse is what Bhagwan says, Mate Sangat Astu Akarmani. Now what happens is, if fruit is removed from the whole game of action, whole equation of action, man has got this natural propensity that if fruits are removed from the whole equation of the action, the natural bent of mind or the natural turn will be towards akarmani, inaction. Bhagwan says, Arjun, if I am telling you not to make fruit your only primary factor, don't go to the other portion that now since the fruit is not there, why should I act? I am already contented, and then they will give all the kind of excuses of that I'm like a sannyasi, I live like that, I have got very less desires, these, that, and all those kind of things, but they are only trying to cover up their laziness. Bhagwan says, no, Arjun, be watchful that if you remove fruit from the whole equation of action in your life, or if you don't make fruit your primary motivating factor in your life, you remove that from the whole equation, don't fall into akarmani or don't fall into inaction, which is the natural propensity which a man falls into. Now let's take it in a little bit detail in terms of understanding what Bhagwan means by this whole verse. So Bhagwan wants us that this knowledge should be illumined in our intellect and should be behind every action we do in our life. And also, if you just take back and look at your own experience in life, you will realize that we always had freedom in our action. It was always there. We were free to choose who's to do, not to do, or do it differently at the level of action. But when it comes at the level of fruit, we all can experience that none of us were actually choosers. Fruits were always given to us. We didn't choose the fruit. Yes, the fruits have been chosen by our action only, but at the time when we did action. There is one, text called Upadesh Sar, written by Ramana Maharshi ji, and he, in the first verse itself, he says, Karturajñaya prapyate phalam. Kartuhu ajñaya prapyate phalam prapyate natu grihyate. Fruits are always received. Just look back, when the fruit is presented in front of us, when the fruit of action appears in front of us, even if it is Bhishma Pitama or it is Maharaj Dashrath ji, even there could be big saints in life also, they can be big warriors in life also. All of them had no choice but to accept it, but to bear the fruit of action, but to enjoy the fruit of action. I told you one line, when we use this word called bhog comes for enjoyership also, bhog comes for consumption also, bhog comes for bearing the fruit also. So the bhog is interchangeably used that way. Actually, enjoyership is easy to understand, but the moment I say enjoyership, the one thing is comes that we don't enjoy sorrows, right? How can we be an enjoyer of sorrow? But that's not what is meant there. Actually, enjoyer means bhog is the literal translation that way, but we are actually bearing. So when the fruit is presented in front of everyone, whether it is Bhishma Pitama or it is King Dashrath or whether there are big saints, we know their life, we can read it here through books and all. None of them had any choice what to say in terms of fruit. They all had to accept it. Now, keeping that in mind, this is how our life should be planned. Keeping this truth illumined at the back, our life, our lifestyle should be chosen. Remember one thing, we are free to choose and do action in the permitted and allowed field also. And I give you several permutation combination of people working. There are people who will do only in the permitted and allowed field of act, and we will call them what a person of self-control. The other, there are people who will only do prohibited action. What a kind of fallen and wretched being they are. Now you see in the creation, there are all permutation combination of people you can see here. And this is where the disconnect between the actual life comes, that they don't know the reality of life. They don't know this truth of life, that they have the choice of action. But once the action is chosen, they will have no choice at the level of fruit at all. If our lifestyle is based on this truth at the back of the mind, and we define a lifestyle like this, trust me, our life will become smoother. It will be full of acceptance. We will not crib, cry and crash or be depressed when the fruit of action is presented in front of us. But we will constantly be motivated to actually do more and do our best, because we know what is coming is result of our own actions in the past. And what we will do now is definitely going to bear fruits in the coming period of time. But when man doesn't accept this reality, or doesn't base his or her life on this reality, there are certain kind of faults which come in our lifestyle. And then, now just think, and I'm giving you certain examples to help you understand. If somebody doesn't understand this reality at all, and desires or keeps desire for certain fruits and runs after those fruits and make resolve in their life that I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. Now just think of that person's life when the fruit doesn't come the way that person has desired. What will happen? Will get demotivated. Person, without realizing that the fruit of action is not in his control, he has no right or freedom to choose the fruit. When a person does not have the freedom to choose the fruit of action, then the fruit, if they don't come according to the desire of that person, it is but natural that this person who is desirous of certain fruit, when it doesn't come in their life, they'll start becoming demotivated. They will lose their focus on action. That demotivation and depression, after some time, that person may, once the fruit doesn't come, will make an attempt again. When the fruit doesn't come again, may make an attempt again. But again and again, when the fruit doesn't come that way, that person will start to lose the focus on action, start to lose the trust on his or her own ability also. This is where the self-confidence starts to go down. And then, and what are the kind of things we hear in the world? That the person may come up and say, I've tried all those things. Whatever I desire never comes to me. So there is no point in doing any action. I'm not motivated to do anything. And they naturally start falling into laziness. They will start falling into inaction. That's a natural thing. When again and again the desired result don't come, demotivation is normal and natural. Just think, the problem with this person is not about anything else, but it's the problem is actually where the person does not have any freedom. He or she is trying to make that happen. They don't have a freedom. And I give you one example. In terms of action, Puja Maharashtra Swami Akhandanand Ji used to give that example. When the food is kept in front of you, you have the choice of eating it, you have the choice not to eat it, you have the choice to change the food also. But once it has gone up to the tongue and it is kept on the tongue, then you don't have a choice of, having, if it's kept salty, can't say that, I will not taste the salt. That's not there. So just think this person, and now because that person has not based his life on the reality of life, if that's why it's natural for that person to get demotivated. One example which Puja Maharaji Swami Subodhananji used to give is that just think somebody jumps from a higher floor with the desire that I should go up. Now that's against the gravitational rule. That's against the gravitational law. The gravitational law says when something goes down or falls from above, it will definitely go down. It's not going to go up. So, this person, if he thinks that, I'll desire to go up by jumping down, in the physical form of body, that person can never come down. Of course, at the subtle level, the person may die and go, differently up or somewhere. I'm not talking about that. But the general rule of gravitation is what? Anything which falls from above will go down. Now, if you desire opposite, that's your problem. Then things won't change just because you desire. Now, since in the fruit of action, one does not have a freedom, what is the point of basing one life, basing in life these things to just be on the fruit only? Now, one more thing I'll give as an example is, in the world of management, MBAs and all, in the corporate world, now this is where the one problem which comes at the corporate level. I've also worked 13 years in a company, and by God's grace, I have also got many recognitions from them. In the MBA world, the 3 factors which they usually talk about in the management world to motivate a person will be promotion, reward, recognition. These are the 3 factors which are kept in the world, in the management world, to motivate a person. Now just think for a moment, and we can use it differently also. We can say promotion, then we can say recognition, and then reward can be called as appreciation also. So these are the 3 factors they say which mostly corporates use to actually motivate employees. Now just think for a while, what is the limitation with this thing also? If these are the factors which motivate an employee, just think in a company, for example, you have 300 employees. Can you promote all 300? No, you can't. Now, probably out of 300-400 people, you may promote 1 or 2. But do you want to keep only those 1 or 2 motivated? Or do you want to keep entire 300 motivated? Because that's how your business is going to run and grow. Now, promotion can't be one factor to motivate everyone. Then they have another thing called recognition. Yes, recognition should be given, no doubt about it. That work which is good definitely needs to be recognized. Now, one problem which sometimes happen is, sometimes the reporting managers are very miser in terms of recognition. No, you should not be. Miserness at this level is not right, because that is definitely required for people to be, focus on their work. So that definitely, yes, recognition is required. And the third one is appreciation or reward. It can be, we can say some trophy is given, and somebody is recognized at the level of department also. In the company where I used to work, and I worked 13 years, I got, by God's grace, many recognitions to my credit, at the level of department also, at the level of organization also, at the level of the total organization also, at the level of India also, because it was a multinational. So I understand the importance of these 3 things: promotion, recognition, and appreciation. But there are some limitation also. I told you about the promotion, that you can't promote everyone. Promotion will be due for only few people in the whole gamut of the whole population of the employees. So you can't keep everyone promoted. Okay, now recognition and appreciation also. Now, when you keep recognizing and you recognize very frequently, the recognition also loses its importance. Now, one thing I definitely want to say, and I have said this very point blank in the WhatsApp group for podcast listeners, where people have joined. One thing we must keep in mind is, praise is always public, feedback is always personal. But sometimes there is a disastrous thing which we do, and I've seen this in corporate world also, I'm telling you, which is very wrong. Sometimes seniors, they mistake this whole concept and they try to praise personally and give feedback publicly. It is so wrong. Why it is wrong? Remember, praise has got its importance only when it is public. If you just go to one person and just praise him personally, it may have an impact, but it's not that useful. They may think that you don't want to recognize somebody, publicly. Maybe that, it's only to make you up and to keep you happy somebody praised you. It loses its importance. But just come to feedback. Now the feedback is given for improvement. Now why are you giving publicly that feedback? Public feedback means you're actually humiliating that person. You don't have an intention to improve, or you may or may not have the intention for that person to improve, but publicly means you're actually humiliating, and by humiliating you are showing one man upship of yourself. That's not right. That person who needs to work upon them, feedback should be given personally to that person. Now this is the biggest thing happens. I do not know why people misplace this. In this group which I am talking about, I made this very clear in that group that remember, praise is always public and feedback is always personal. If your intention is right, that with that feedback you want to correct something, you want that person to improve, so the person who has done that incorrectly should only be given the feedback. No, what has the feedback in public, what meaning has that feedback in public got to do? So that's a mistake which some people do. Remember this thing, this I've understood from Gita ji and its meaning also. Praise should always be public and feedback should always be personal. Now, when I say feedback should always be personal, I should give you the exception also to that rule. The only exception to this rule of feedback being personal is if a person after repeated feedback does not work and it is impacting your chain of action, it is impacting your chain of the department, it is impacting the performance of the whole department, then after few feedbacks, you can definitely give public feedback also. Because if the person doesn't understand, then yes, then you can take further action also. Feedback means the other further actions of the performance appraisal actions, you can take that way. But remember, as a ground rule, praise should always be public and feedback should always be personal, unless and until after repeated feedbacks person doesn't work. That's the only time feedback should be given at public level. Since I have said that, so let me also explain what is covered in promotion, reward and recognition also. Let's pick up promotion first. Promotion is basically increase in salary and perks or facilities given. That's the first thing. Along with span of control, increase in the span of control, increase in authority and increase in responsibility also. These few things get covered in promotion. When we come to reward can be medal, just think players, the athletes who run or the game matches they play and all those things, how much amount of effort they put in for that medal. That medal becomes very important. That's the reward for their thing. Of course, monetary reward comes also part of that, but medal and plaques and all those things we call about as a reward. Recognition is recognizing some good work done, some additional responsibility taken, some good performance done, something which has been turned around. When you recognize publicly, that becomes recognition. So these are the few things which come under promotion, reward and recognition, or promotion, recognition and what you call that, reward and appreciation we call it. Never mind. So this is what Bhagwan says. Now Bhagwan says that if your life's goal or your focus of action or your motivating factor is these three, just think yourself, when the results don't come Everyone, I told you the limitation with these things. Everybody can't be promoted. Many times reward and recognition may not be possible. There are other factors which are responsible behind that. If you do not have them, then your motivation will completely go down. And it is completely opposite to what Bhagwan is saying. Bhagwan is saying, don't keep fruit as your only motivating factor. Move away from that. Replace the fruit of action with different things. What are the different things we talk about? That is what Bhagwan is going to explain in further on this point. So Bhagwan is saying, O spiritual seeker, establish this practice in your life that the fruit of action should not be your primary motivating factor. Rather, fruit should never be your motivating factor only. So these things which I spoke about from a management world, they are completely opposite to what Bhagwan is saying. Now just think for a while, if fruit is not the motivating factor, and if you are able to create a workforce with this kind of a knowledge, that fruit will come to you according to what is there or what your karma has been, it will come according to that. Don't focus on that. What a motivating workforce we can create. Just think for a moment. If this knowledge is given to everyone and everyone is able to live this one, what a happy workplace can be created. What a happy country can be created. How beautiful a country will become if everybody starts working this way. So Bhagwan is saying, oh Arjun, make this achievement part of your life. Attain this siddhi, that fruit of action is removed from the whole equation of motivating factor for your action. You must work towards that. And also, the moment fruit is removed, usually I told you what happens is, a person may start falling back into inaction. Don't even take that also. Mate sangha astu akarmani. Don't get attached to inaction. One more example I can give you here is that sometimes you see there are certain people who have got less desires. Their desires are not very high. There are people who have got huge amount of desires also. Definitely they work hard and towards us, fulfilling their desires. But there are people who have got less desire. Now, if fruit of action was the motivating factor, this person who has got less desire will be happy with little bit action, and also because little bit action itself is giving that person to achieve the desired result, because his desires are already less. So there are two possibilities which can come here. Either a person, when the fruit of action is removed, it may fall into inaction, and those people who have got less desire of desires in their life, they will also bend towards actually doing less action. That because the fruit is the motivating factor there. Bhagwan is saying, Arjun, this should not be the case. You have to watch yourself that definitely, yes, fruit of action should be removed from the whole game of motivating factor of action, and also take care that you should not get attached to inaction. Sangha is the word he is using there. Sangha astu akarmani. Don't get attached to inaction. Don't say that, no, my desires are very less, so I don't need to work much. That's not what the point Bhagwan is making here. Now there are certain examples which I can give here also. Just think, take back, now few days back only, last month only, Ram Mandir got inaugurated in Ayodhya. And why I'm bringing this up here is, when we talk about Ram Mandir, definitely yes, Ayodhya Ram Mandir was important and to come. It is more than the temple, it is about bringing back the culture. Now why I am bringing up this topic here is, I am giving you certain examples now in this verse itself, tying back to Ramayana. Just think for a moment, look at the life of Lakshmana ji, look at the life of Bharat ji, look at the life of Hanuman ji. Can you even think what kind of fruit of actions would have motivated them? When the whole Vanvas thing was announced and Dashrath ji, Kaikeyi, using the boon which was given by Dashrath ji, send Ramji to the forest for 14 years to exile. At that time, Ramji goes to Lakshmanji and says, Lakshman, now, Bharat and Shatrughna are in their maternal home right now. And I have to leave for forest to fulfill my father's promise. I have to go to forest, the boon which he has given to Kaikeyi. I have to go to forest. Now, Lakshman, remember one thing. There is nobody else to take responsibility. So you should take over the responsibility of the kingdom till the time Bharat comes. Now look at Lakshmanji. It would have been easy. Lakshmanji said, see Bhagwan, Bhagwan gives an example over there saying that Lakshman, according to dharma also that is right. You know what Lakshmanji says? He says, Bhagwan, I am very small. Don't try to tell me this dharma and all those things. I don't know this dharma and all those things. I know only one thing, that I have to serve you. Now see, now there, what kind of firm faith they have in what? Their life is devoted to Bhagwan. Their life is not even towards their duty. I told you in the hierarchy of man living, there are 3 levels a man can live at. One is at the level of personal desires, because that is the motivating factor. The second is somebody who is bound by duty. That my desires are secondary, duty first. That's a still higher level. And even higher than that level is somebody who lives for God. Just think, even there comes a point in time in life of that person that between duty and God's wish, that person has to choose. That person is ready to give up duty also for God. See, that's the kind of culture which Ramayanji is bringing to us. And I gave you one example before. We must all choose whose culture are we following. If we follow culture of Aurangzeb and others, we may kill for our property our father and our brother also. But if we follow the culture of Ramji, then that means for a brother, other brother is ready to give up the property, not take life like that. So that's the culture change. Ram Mandir coming to Ayodhya, it was definitely important because it is about bringing the cultural change in us. What culture we were living in before, and what have we become today in the midst of all these losses which has happened. People may have taken over temples and all this, but it is our duty to bring back those things which are important for us. This is how our country used to be run. So Lakshmanji says, Bal Maral ki mandar lehi. Bhagwan, don't try to tell me dharma and other things at all. Please, this dharma varma I don't understand. I only know one thing, that I have to serve you. Now let me take the example of Bharatji here. When Bharatji comes back, he is very upset with his mother Kaikeyi about all those things. So he's sitting and Vashishji tells Bharatji that Bharat, now the situation has come that half of your father's promise has already been fulfilled by Ramji going to forest. The second half will be fulfilled only when you become the king, because that's the second boon which Kaikeyi asked, Bharat's Rajyabhishek as a king. So Bharat looks and Vashishji in the midst of the entire assembly, he says that we all feel that this is the only thing to do. Ramji has already gone to forest. Lakshmanji and Sitaji have also gone with them. And the second boon of Kaikeyi, which was given by Maharajji, was that you should become the king. So I think the dharma also is that you should take over the kingdom. You should be coronated as the king, and you should take over the reins of this kingdom. So, and they give the example, you see, Dasharathji, you look at your father, for him promise was bigger than even his life. So for fulfilling the promise, he has given his life also. He didn't care about his life also. That was the importance of promise for your father. So I think you must fulfill, that's your duty as a child towards your father also. That is your duty which we feel at this point in time, since Ramji and Lakshmanji have gone into the forest. That's your duty towards the kingdom also. That is your duty in terms of the whole, and that is what we as the people in this assembly feel also. All of us feel that this is what you should do. Bharatji looks at Vashishji and says, Vashishji, listen to me very carefully. No, don't tell me this dharma and other things at all. I know only one thing. Preeti hamar siyapati sevakai. I know only one thing. The only thing which will give me satisfaction, which is my duty, which will give me inner happiness, is that I should serve Siyapati. Siyapati means, oh Lord Rama. My duty and my dharma is only serving him. So I listened to what you said. Now I don't understand. I will not take up like this. I will go and seek permission from him that what does he want me to do. So Bharatji goes to forest to meet Ramji, and with deep repentance he says, I'm so sorry Bhagwanji, because of me this whole situation has come. I feel myself so unlucky. I do not know, I think my name will be spoiled in the history also, that because of me you had to go to forest. That's the kind of devotion he had to Bhagwan. And says, Bhagwan, I will go by your order. I am not going to force you to come. I want you to come and take over the kingdom, because technically, trust me, I don't deserve it. And I don't have the ability to run it also for you. Bhagwan, please take the kingdom, but I won't force you, because whatever you order, I'll do. Then Bhagwan Ramji tells Bharatji that, Bharat, I have taken a resolve to go to the forest to fulfill the promise. I think you would become the king, and that is what father also wanted, mother also wanted. Then Bharatji turns back and tells Ramji, Bhagwan, I am not going to become the king. I will only take over as the caretaker of your kingdom, and we will eagerly wait for you to come back. You see the kind of culture it was there from Ramayana times. For a brother, other person has given up his kingdom. And Bharatji, what to say, that there are so many things to pick up from Ramayana to talk about Bharatji. Bharatji was such alert and vigilant. He did such a beautiful job of, remaining as a caretaker. He never sat on the throne. He stayed outside. He said, my Ramji, because of me, is in the forest. I am not going to, stay in the palace. I'll stay outside, and Ramji stays on the ground. I'll stay a little bit below. His devotion is so clear. He's not, greed of kingdom, fighting and killing each other for the kingdom. What kind of a life is that? His life is so clear. He said, Bhagwan, I am telling you one thing honestly. Okay, I take your order and I'm ready to take care of your kingdom. He said that your kingdom is not my kingdom. I am ready to take care of your kingdom. I'll try my best to serve in whichever way possible. But at the end of 14th year, once this exile is over, I will not wait for one day. If you don't turn back, you will find me dead. This is how Bharatji was. And you just read Ramayana, what a fascinating portion it is. They say that Bharatji used to stay outside only, used to come to palace, manage the work and go back. He used to stay that way, but he was so alert and vigilant. In those 14 years as caretaker, he didn't return. Ayodhya was not, more poorer than what it used to be when Ramji went. No, Ayodhya was much wealthier than what Ramji, when Ramji went. Whatever Ayodhya was, Bharatji returned Ayodhya more wealthier than how it was. That's how he had taken care. And his alertness and vigilance, what to talk about. He was sleeping one day when Hanumanji was flying from up with the Jadi Buti and that Parvat, for that hill, to be taken to Lanka for treating Lakshmanji. Bharatji was sleeping. Suddenly he saw somebody going. He thought, I do not know, maybe some Rakshas or some Asura has attacked Ayodhya or is going to create a trouble. He shot an arrow and Hanumanji came down. He fell down. And after explaining those things, when he understood all those things, that's when he let him go. His alertness and vigilance was so. What fruit was there in front of Bharatji? Just think for a while. What fruit was there in front of Lakshmanji? What kind of a living they have lived here and shown? I'll give you another example of Hanumanji here. When at the end of Treta Yuga, Ramji decided that everybody from Ayodhya will be taken to Saket Lok. Just think for a while. Huh? Everybody will be taken to Saket Lok. So all of you come, Bhagwan invited. Bhagwan turned to Hanumanji and said, Hanumanji, all of these people I am taking to Saket Lok, but you stay back on the earth to take care here. Now just think for a while. A normal person would have looked back at Bhagwanji and said, Bhagwan, what mistake did I do? I served you whole of my life, and when the time came to take to Saket Lok, you are leaving me here and taking everyone else. Anybody could have said that. Hanumanji did not even ask once. You just think, Hanumanji never asked once. He just stayed back. Because why? Prabhu Preeti. Bhagwan's order is at the topmost. What he says, he has said it. My life's purpose is to serve him. Duty also comes secondary. So I told you, very normal or very low level life is that of a person who lives for fulfilling their own desire. That is how many are living. For them, fruit of action is the only motivating factor. I'm using the word only motivating factor. There are many examples I can give here. Let me see how much I can cover as an example. There is no dearth of example if I pick up my scriptures, our scriptures that way. So just think that, just think of our saints, Swami Vivekanand ji, Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanand ji, Swami Tapovan ji, Swami Shivanand ji. Just think what fruit was there for them to be motivated for work. They used to work 18-20 hours a day. There are times when I've heard Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanand ji used to rest only for 2-3 hours. He was so dedicated. What fruit they had? What fruit were motivating them? Their inspiration is completely divine. There is a different experience. There is a different level of motivation there. And remember, it's a kind of motivation which comes from within. And their motivation is not something which will go up and down like a fruit. Fruit is that, Pujya Gurudev used to give an example which I should quote here. If fruit of action or these things, promotion, reward, recognition and other things are my motivating factor, it is like the kick which comes from a liquor. To, make somebody do a work, you can give them liquor, they may be able to do the work. But on a longer run, they can't remain motivated. It's going to give an ill effect also on the health. For immediate kick, you can do all those things. So, if fruit only motivates us, it's like the kick which comes out of a liquor. How long will you remain motivated? And remember, you may consume liquor and you can get a kick, immediate kick out of them. You can get a kind of happiness or something out of that. I do not know, but I'm just saying, what I hear from people. But you can get those things. But remember, there is an ill effect also after that. In the same way, promotion, reward and recognition is the only thing which motivates you. It can give you a kick in a smaller run, in a shorter run. But on the long run, it is definitely going to give you an ill effect. How long will you remain motivated? How long these things will motivate you? They will, of course, lose their power after a certain point in time. But remember, this is the level of a person who's living at the level of desire fulfillment. I'm telling you what to talk about desire. Even if people are given the opportunity to contribute for a cause or good things, they don't come forward. This is the state of people. This is the selfishness of people which remain there. They are so bound by their own desire. They think that desire fulfillment is the only aim of life, nothing else. And remember, one more example I can give here. Just think, if desire is the only thing to work for, there are some parents who spend time, effort and money on their kids with an expectation in mind that when they grow up, they should serve us. Now remember, if parents have also lived out of desire, the kids are also living on desire. Now just look at the Western culture. Everybody is independent. Nobody is there for anyone. Right? That's the shortcoming of that culture also, which I have to bring out here. So just think, if a parent has nurtured their child, has invested on their child with only expectation that they should serve us when they grow, and if the child doesn't end up taking care of them, they of course will get dejected, demotivated, depressed, because their basic construct of spending time on their child itself was wrong. They themselves are full of their own desires. Their children are also with the same kind of desires. They are independent. These are independent. And children also think that, I didn't ask you to, bring me to the world. Now that's your duty to do it. Why should I contribute? This is what is called selfish, desireful living. Everybody is living for their own desire. And the moment, I can pick up so many things from this society which are only pointing towards a life only with the objective of fulfillment of desire. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody wants to do duty also. This is what happens if you live a life full of desires only. Still higher than that is if somebody, lives a life with firm belief on, fulfilling their duty, with the intention of doing their duty. Remember, if a person is duty bound, why I am saying higher for that person is sometimes for doing the duty, because that person is bound with the duty, is very focused on the duty, that person will be ready to give up desire also for doing the duty. Now in the same example which I just gave you, if mother and father, they did as a duty to, nurture their child, take care of the child and invest in their child, they did as a duty without any expectation, just think, do you think that the kid will not take care of such parents? And when the kid takes care of those parents, those parents without, they never had any expectation, and this kid takes care, you think what a delight it will be. So Bhagwan is saying, move out from living a life full of desire, selfish desire, move out and contribute. Move out and be part of this thing. Don't keep an eye on result only. Don't worry. Result is there. It will come, whether you want or not want. I'm telling you seriously, out of experience I'm telling you. When we start doing work, we see that don't worry about the result. Result will come. Let God take care. If He wants to give, let Him give. If He doesn't want to give, let Him not give also. It doesn't matter. But my most important thing is that he should be happy with the work. That's the kind of life we need to nurture, and that's what Gita ji is telling us. That come out of that kind of mentality, come out of that kind of attitude of life, that I will live only for fruit. If it comes, I'll work. If it doesn't come, I won't work. No, that life is wrong. And just think, Bhagwan is in the further chapter is going to talk about how many kind of loans we have. We have a loan to contribute towards so many things in the society. When I was born, I didn't go to the field to grow grains and everything for fulfilling my food needs. Somebody else did it. University, just think, government also spends so much on the education of people. There are times we have to give back. We can't think. One habit also I will definitely bring out here. It's very strange about human beings. I'm talking about those people who live a selfish life. When it comes to getting, they want to get everything free. And when somebody asks to give also, why should I give? Which is a very strange kind of an attitude. When it comes to me, I should get everything free. But when it comes to me working for someone, I should be paid for every bit. What kind of a thought process is this? We should come forward. This whole creation runs with contributions. We have a duty towards our country. We have a duty towards our parents. We have a duty towards our institution. We have a duty towards so many things. We can't think that we'll only get, we will not give. We should cultivate that habit. So Bhagwan says, remember, higher than the person living at the level of desire is the person who is bound by duty. They feel that I have duty towards those where I am getting, whether it is parents, whether it is teachers, whether it is anybody else in this whole creation, government, country, state. I can say so many things over there. Still, even higher than that are those people who live for the happiness of God. And there I gave the example of Bharatji, Lakshmanji, Hanumanji, and Pujya Gurudev, Pujya Maharaj Shri Swami Akhandanandji, Pujya Swami Subodhanandji, Pujya Guruji Swami Subodhanandji. So many people I can give an example. You can see that they have tirelessly worked without asking anything back. They have worked more than that. If you really think, if we really think from the perspective that I have to give back to so many people, so many things I've taken in my whole life till the time I reached here, trust me, I'm telling you, your 24 hours will also fall short of time. You'll be falling short of time within the 24 hours also. 24 hours won't be enough if I start giving back to everyone. But the thing is, you need to understand that hierarchy. Bhagwan says, a man who is bound by fruit of action, whose primary motivating factor is fruit of action, whose only motive in life is desire fulfillment, trust me, he or she is not going to do any value add for them. They will remain where they are. Rather, they will not even remain where they are. They will fall into the lower yonis for sure, which I already mentioned you, the Bhog yoni, plant, animal and bird. Because they are also living for me and mine. Just think when we look at the animal kingdom, or when we look at National Geographic or Discovery Channel, it's so fascinating when you start to understand Vedanta a little bit. Thanks to our Guru, when you start understanding Vedanta a little bit, you can see the whole creation from a different eye altogether. Puja Maharaji, Swami Subodhananji was explaining it somewhere very beautifully. The whole concept of this 84 lakh yonis is that don't become in such a way that some kind of a thought process become very strong in you and it leads you to such things. And I can give you examples, but I'll probably take it up in some other session. That when we look at these yonis, you can pick up that kind of habits which are leading to them. You can clearly identify them. Just see, when you watch Discovery Channel, National Geographic and all, it is very fascinating to see how the animal world also functions. They will be in herds, many of them. Whether you talk about elephants, whether you talk about deers, lions, tigers, they will always move in herds because the feeling of me and mine is so strong. How different are we? Just think, normal human beings who are living. Puja Swami, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji brings it up so beautifully in his Bhashya somewhere that, Pashubhyas Samanaha. We are living like animals. Dandapanim Drishtva Palayate. The moment some rule and law comes, we will start running. Dandapani means somebody he runs after us with a stick and the rein, we'll start running away. Means that when somebody shows law and some law catches us, we start running away. Pashubhyas samana means that we're living as animals only for fulfilling desires. Bhagwan says, come out of that. There is a bigger objective which you need to achieve. There are bigger things you have to achieve in life. This human life is rare. You can contribute to your vertical growth among these 4 kingdoms I spoke about. Only human being can contribute towards their vertical growth. And these Puranas also bring out very clearly. If you have come into a human life, and now another example I'll give you here. It says, Durlabam Trayamaiva Etat. In Vivek Chudamani, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, Durlabam Trayamaiva Etat. Devanugraha Hetukam, Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshraya. So when I read that verse, I was thinking, Bhagwan says, these 3 things are rare and they come only with the grace of God. Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam and Mahapurusha Samshraya. Manushyatvam literal meaning can be a human life. That's not what it means. I'll come back to that. Mumukshutvam means after getting born as a human being, the desire to contribute to your vertical growth. And the third thing is Mahapurusha Samshraya, the company or association of great saints. These 3 things come with only grace of God. Durlabam, they are very rare. They come only with the grace of God. So when I read Manushyattvam, I was thinking about human being. So one thought which used to come is that we are already born as human beings. So, that grace will already be there. That's not what Bhagwan means there. Manushyatvam. We are only born in a human body. We have not become humans yet. We are yet to become human. Manushyatvam. It's not Manushyam. Manushyatvam. Manushyatvam means born in a human body also. Just look around, pick up newspaper, look at news channel. How many people are living worse than animals with their acts. Worse than animals is the word I'm using. So body you have got of a human being. To become a human, at least to do this much for you on the vertical path, that next life also get as human. Don't fall into lower yonis. Don't go back into bhog yonis. Don't make any thought process so strong that one of those 84 lakh yonis is guaranteed for you. Don't do that. You have the ability. That is what choice of action is. Remember, when Bhagwan says you have freedom of action means what? A man can grow above also, man can choose to go below also. That is the choice we have. Prohibited action when people do they think they will get human life? No way. They don't even deserve a human life for that matter of fact. Many things which you read in the newspaper, I only feel pity for them when I read those news. Why? Poor people. In coming in human life, they could minimum not even become a human being. We have got a human body. We have yet to become a human being. Human being means what? Human being means what? Do contribute to you also, contribute for the growth of others also. That is what human being is all about. A human being only can choose those action. Do action in the permitted field. Do your duty well. Do get devoted towards God. So remember, a life full of desire is the lowest level living. Pashwadibhya samana is the word. Sorry, yeah. Pashwadibhya samana means it's like they are equal to the animals and birds and other things. Pashwadibhya samana. That was the word I was looking for. So anyway, so desire, life full of desire is only a life of animalistic tendencies. Don't run after desire so much. Don't run after fruit so much. And don't also fall into inaction also is what Bhagwan is guiding from this point. So that's what Bhagwan is wanting to say from this verse. Some bit more of this verse is left, which we'll see in the next class, and then we'll move forward to the verse after that. I remember one thing I told you, both 47 and 48th verse, Bhagwan is explaining Karma Yoga. So we need to understand this. That's why these verses are going to take a little bit of time, because there are the key messages to be given there. So we'll see a little bit more in the next session, and then we'll go to 48th verse from there. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi adyat sakalam parasmai narayanaeti samarpayami श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांतिः. हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम. ओम तत्सत्.